There are a lot of people every day who go unnoticed as they give of themselves in one way or another in time or resource. They ask for nothing in return, nor do they ask for any type of credit or recognition. But their lives and their love leave a lasting impact on those around them. Why? Sometimes we see this lasting impact for generations after. I want to find out what the common thread is. I want to find out what the common ground is. These are the stories that I want to share. I have had the privilege of meeting with people and talking with people from all around the world, and I hope to share their stories. The question I ask myself is, what common ground can we all stand on? I hope to find out in these conversations. A wonderful quote from Mother Teresa says, "There are no great things, only small things with great love. Happy are those." All right, Miss Sharonne, I am so happy and grateful that you were willing to join me and talk to me about the common ground effects and impact that you have seen in your own life from the people around you and what it has done in your life. So I very much appreciate you helping me out with this.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
For having me.
All right. All right. So I would like for you, the first question I have for you is I would like you to share with me someone who has made an impact in your life and why. And with that impact, I'm going to add in the second question of what has that impact done in your life and how has it caused you to approach life and change the way you see things?
Gotcha. Yeah, there's so many people that come to mind when you ask that question.
I know.
But at the forefront comes my friend. Her name is Marilyn Buckingham. And we work together at the hospital. We deal with postpartum patients. So after you deliver a baby, we take care of the moms and babies. Well, anyway, I've been working with Marilyn for 5 years. And the way that she deals with people is just phenomenal to me. Her giving spirit. So she just gives and gives and gives and gives. And like the first, I don't know, maybe year, being around her, I was like, I just can't believe how much this lady gives. Like, first of all, how can you afford it?
Right.
It's a lot.
Right.
But like, she really inspired me. She's really inspired me to want to give more. Because when she gives, it's never like how is this going to return to me? And she's never worried about if she can afford it or not. She just wants to help people. And the amount of money that she gives is just mind-boggling. And so, like, it's really influenced me because I used to have a tight fist. I'm still dealing with it. It's not as tight as it was.
Totally understand.
I'd be concerned, like, how am I going to make sure that my bills are paid, my kids are taken care of? I'm already giving to the ministry, already giving to this ministry, that one, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, it was just kind of a thing that I was like, I'm giving so many places, I just can't afford to keep giving. But like after watching her for so long, I decided I want to start doing that too, and it's been amazing. It's been amazing. Like I haven't lacked for anything. The joy that I see, with people when I do give, is so rewarding. And so so it's just that's what God wants us to do anyway, right? And give with a willing, cheerful heart. So why not just jump in that and trust it? Why are we so fearful,
Right.
So,
and you feel like what you have seen over the past few years and watching her has made a lasting, long-term impact on how you see in giving to people. I mean, obviously you give if you're a nurse.
Mm-hmm.
But this you give of yourself. I mean, you are in a sense laying down your life for other people because you put yourself in harm's way in many different ways, and you want to help. But sometimes our resource that's a whole nother a whole nother ball game kind of thing.
Yeah, it's true. Because I think time-wise, I don't have an issue so much giving my time. Like,
right.
That's, but it was definitely the resources that were, I guess, Yeah, I guess I would call it a stronghold, you know?
Oh, we all have them in different ways, don't we? We all have things we're like that monkey that holds on really, really, really tight, and and it doesn't do us any good.
Right. And so now it just feels freeing, more rewarding. And I've told her like many times, I'm like, Marilyn, you have no idea how much you've influenced me to not want to hold on so tight to money. And and she'll be like, oh yeah, thank you, baby, you know, whatever, thank you, sweetie, like.
Yeah, she kind of blows it off a little bit, and
yeah, like for her, she's probably like, yeah, it's not that big of a deal, but it is tremendous. It has been tremendous. And so yeah,
I think that speaks into what I'm saying, is that people don't realize what they may consider a small gesture or a small act, or to them that's not that big of a deal. Now, you don't have any trouble giving of your time, and you don't see that. I mean, there's probably days that you're like, everyone's taking up my time, but as a general, as a nurse, I would think, that's part of who I am, and I just do that. But there are people who, they're tight-fisted with their time. They may give a whole lot of money, but they may be very tight-fisted with their time. It's my time, it's my life, and I'm not going to give to that. And for them, giving money monetarily is easier. And it sounds like she does both, because she's working with you. So is she a nurse then, giving of her time and stuff?
Right. Yes.
So she's giving her time and her money.
Right.
Okay, so my next question for you has to do with just generally in the community. Maybe not necessarily someone that impacts you specifically, but what you have seen in your general community of either where you live or where you worship or where you work, or, obviously you have Maryland, but in a different context where you have seen someone just give selflessly, or you've heard about them in that, I think about, there's somebody in Fort Wayne who the family, they fostered over 100 kids. And that just blows me away. But it's not really like something that's in the news. They selflessly gave. They were a part of that situation. They were giving homes to these children. Yeah. What's the lasting impact? Do you know somebody who was raised within that family, and where they are now, and what the impact was? So something along those lines of what you have seen or someone you have heard about.
The first person that comes to mind when you pose that question is actually my cousin. Her name is Sharonne Garrett. Okay. So she doesn't actually I live in Atlanta. She doesn't live with me in my community, but sure. I talk to her like every single day. So I'm like in constant communication with her. Sure. And she actually lives in Tampa.
Okay.
This girl, my goodness, she is amazing. I honestly can't even think of another person, that I'm so tight-knit with, that gives the way she gives. So she gives financially and of her time, like Marilyn, but she does it I don't know, it's definitely God.
Wow.
Because to me, she does it 24/7. And I'm actually sometimes I'm stepping back and I'm like, don't you want to take a little bit of time for yourself? And she'll be like, yeah, I need to. But the next time I'm talking to her, she's going again a mile a minute. So what she does, she's actually a school teacher. Mm-hmm. She teaches second grade. I hope I don't get that wrong with third grade. Second grade. She teaches second grade.
Okay.
But on top of that, she's a mentor. So after school, but she stays there way beyond what I think she should stay. Sometimes I'm calling and it's 6 p.m. and she's still at the school working, and I'm like, what are you doing? She's like, well, I gotta get this done for the kids and blah blah blah. And then she's off to go mentor some high school kids, and I'm like, what? So she just she doesn't stop. And then as a matter of fact, I was talking to her yesterday, and so right now as we're recording this, we're in the middle of the whole coronavirus thing, and so they've had to go online digitally to teach. And so some of her kids didn't have a laptop to be able to keep up with the teaching. So just yesterday, she was telling me she went and purchased 2 tablets for her students. And I'm like, you purchased 2 tablets? Isn't the school helping to provide these things? She's like, yeah, but they're going slow. So I just went ahead and did it. And I'm like,
Wow.
like, do you have the money to do this? And she's like, I'll just do it, like whatever. Like,
Right.
so things like that. So she's constantly buying them things too. Like, so some of her kids will come to class and they may not have eaten breakfast. So what she does is she keeps a stockpile that she personally buys of like different snacks and breakfast cereal bars just to give out. So things like that. Like she's just continuing to give and give and give.
And that seems like a little thing. I mean, the tablet's not a little thing, but just providing breakfast for some children may feel or seem to other people like a little thing, but it really isn't. I mean, I didn't have that issue, but I distinctly remember my kindergarten teacher. I remember my first grade teacher, and that was a long time ago. And I still remember, their influence. And I would imagine, especially as she goes above and beyond, and it's hard because you typically don't get much in return. You're not probably going to get a lot of thank yous from the parents. You may or may not from the administration get some, but where's her thanks coming from? What is her, you know?
Exactly. And so it reminds me too of that scriptures, like the scripture of Philippians 2:3, where it says, do nothing out of selfish ambition and vain conceit, but rather in humility, put others above yourself, or value others above yourself. And so that's exactly what she does. Like,
wow.
She doesn't expect the return. She just does it, but does it continuously.
Right.
Like,
and how long has she been a teacher?
She's been a teacher for about 10 years, I want to say. Yeah, roughly 10 years.
Okay.
But she's like that. Like, we grew up together, and she's been like that for a while. Like, just like within our circle, within our family, like if somebody needs something, she's just giving it. And she doesn't necessarily have it. Like, a teacher's salary, it's not very good. Mm-mm. So, yeah, like she just may not have it, but somehow she'll put it on her credit card or whatever she needs to do, and then she'll worry about herself later. And that's really I mean it's biblical. It's biblical, but typically we don't do that, especially in America. Like it's always like me first, and that's a saying actually. Take care of yourself before you take care of others. That's a motto that we just go by in America, right? But is that correct? Is it?
Right.
So
are you fulfilled? Are you fulfilled in your heart if that is it feels like it's more empty when you put yourself first, trying to fill your wants, your needs, whatever, than almost like, put it in the context of food. You go to McDonald's and, you get your fast food and you do all that, but are you getting nutrition? You're hungry 30 minutes later, you're filling yourself with empty calories.
Oh man, it's so powerful.
And it's the same concept. And even if someone isn't a Christian and doesn't go by that philosophy, it is a part of human nature. It is a part of who we are as humans.
Yeah.
We don't sustain and survive being selfish.
Yeah, exactly. And that's why, as a whole, like we're always on this ladder trying to get to the next ladder, just trying to get more so we can be satisfied. But when you think about it, like, I mean, you can just think about Christmas, for example. When you give out your gifts and you see how people are reacting, like you just feel so satisfied. So
right.
Yeah. It's just.
I know it. All right, I'm going to go to the next question here in just a second. I'm going to pause this. And did you have something else? I'm sorry. Did I interrupt you?
Oh, no, you're good. Well, I was going to say, I don't know. I forgot what your next question. I don't know what your next question is going to be, but
just go ahead. Go ahead.
I think it's easy to put our families for most people, we can put our families above ourselves, but the challenge comes when we come outside of the family. So like our friends or our coworkers or even just people that we don't know, but we see on the street. Those are the people that were easy to be like, whatever, like, why do I need to give my extra time and resources to you? But
Right.
but yeah, that's something that we definitely need to keep on the front of our brains and to pray about and help God, to help us to value them above ourselves, because that's exactly what Jesus did. It wasn't just people in his inner circle, it was the whole entire world that he died for.
Right.
So yeah.
Well, and I think it, especially, I mean, I've not lived anywhere else, so all I can go by is my American experience. But it is hard when, for example, I have, my grandma who grew up extremely poverty mentality thinking. And everything was give me, give me, give me, give me. And so when you have not a ton of people who have that mentality, but when there is that mentality, it's harder to continually go ahead and give, because then there's a part of you that you're like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps and quit living off of everybody else and do for yourself. But it's such a fine line, because is that what Jesus said? I don't, I have to continually go to him. I think about the people who are standing at the edge of the lights, when you're driving around and they're asking for money. And I'm sorry, I am skeptical. My first thought is, are you scamming me? And it's God, you've got to help me with that. Jesus would have stopped and talked to them, and he would have done his thing. And I need to be more like that. But it's hard, because there definitely is a entitlement mentality that's there. And I don't know if it's all around the world. I don't know if it's tends to be more in certain cultures or certain areas of the world that it is more prominent. I don't know. But I know for me, I'm very giving. I have no trouble giving. I have no trouble sharing. But then I come to a point where I'm like, all right, that's enough. You need to you need to do it yourself. But is that biblical? I don't know.
I know. And so and that's where we just have to really lean into God and listen to his voice, and hopefully our minds are clear so that we can hear exactly what he's saying. He's like, okay, you don't need to go down that road, but come back over here and go down that road.
Exactly. Okay, so the last question is, I want to see if you can pin down, a common thread of the people that, and obviously you had more than two. Most of us could name more than two people. But the common thread that you see of the people who make impacts like they do, what do you see as the greatest common denominator?
Selflessness, I'd have to say, would be the common denominator. When they're giving, they're not worried about me, I. It's all about you. So that is the common denominator. Simple.
It is simple, and we would think that it would be so simple, but why do you think that is such a hard concept for many people to grasp, get?
Well,
go ahead.
No. So, I mean, that's how we're born. We're born into a. We're human. We're human. So our human nature is self-survival, to think about ourselves, and so it's just it's hard to break that natural mentality, and so it takes a lot of willingness to be able to release that to God and to allow him to work in our hearts. And so, for me, like I said, it's the constant battle. I'm definitely getting better at it, especially because of the people that I'm surrounded by.
Right.
But it's something that I have to constantly take to God in prayer. Besides being a nurse, I'm an actress as well. So even with acting, I have to daily take myself at his feet and just, God, help this to not be about me, but about you. So yeah, I mean,
and that's taking your gifts that God's given you and giving them back to Him.
Right, exactly. So yeah, I think when we're not willing, or when we don't see, that we really need to relinquish to Him, then it just makes it hard. And we're never really going to be like, we might be selfless for a moment, but we won't be selfless on a normal basis or a continuous base if we don't continue to go back to the throne. And so I think that's what's missing, when we as a culture or society, it's hard for us to be selfless. That's why. That's exactly why. Because we're not relinquishing it to Christ. So,
no.
Yeah.
It's, I can do it myself, or I will do it just on these terms, or I will do it just here and just now, but not continually flowing, living it. And the ladies that you shared about are living it. And I think it's almost easier, for me, who doesn't have a ton of money. I think, God, I would love to have that resource to be able to bless people. But sometimes I think having that resource is almost an easy way out. Maybe. Because you're not having to give of yourself. I mean, money, especially nowadays, we're not, we don't even touch it. It used to be back in the day, at least you had your cash and you had a check and you're like, and now it rarely even flows in and out of our hands, and we don't touch it. We don't see it. So it's not a hands-on experience. And I think it's easier to give monetarily than it is to share who you are, share your home, share your time, share your life.
Yeah, wow.
I don't know.
Your life. That's a good one.
Yeah, share your life.
Yes.
Yeah, and I'm just kind of...
It goes into a whole other ballpark.
It really does. It really does. We'll be, okay, one more hour. Let's talk another hour. It's good stuff, and I'm externally processing as I'm talking to you. It's not like I'm just... God's kind of just saying stuff now. It's like, that's so true, God. Oh my goodness, that's so true. And we have to, if we are going to survive as a society, we have got to be living and flowing and breathing, sharing our life.
Yeah.
In every way.
Oh man, powerful stuff.
Oh.
Yes. Sharing our lives, we're sharing Him.
Yes. Yes.
This is great.
It is. It is. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share from your heart before we go? I think that's it on my questions. You've done a great job. Is there anything else that just is leaping out of your heart, your brain, or anything that you want to share?
Maybe just because I have to do this for me too, because it's easy to, like, when you start thinking about things like at this level, and not only this, but there's just other things that God has commanded us to do, but maybe we're not exactly doing it, just to allow grace. Don't beat yourself up, but just take it back to Him in prayer and trust that He's going to help us to get to the point that where He wants us to be. But that's the pivotal thing is to not beat ourselves up, but to talk to Him, communicate with Him, and stay connected to Him.
Right.
So there's no condemnation, but at the same time, we're not just going to, just forget about whatever it is that He's placed in our heart. We're still going to, bring it back to Him, and we're going to keep bringing it to Him, and we're going to keep staying connected to Him. So,
right.
Yeah. Wanted to say that.
That's awesome. That's awesome.